Welcome back, folks. I'm Jake Ellenbogen. Today we are talking about the Rams OTAs yet again. We do have some observations from Stu Jackson, but I also did get in contact with some people because I wanted to know what was going on. Right? I wanted to know. So I have some notes from what I have. I have some notes from what Stu Jackson had. We're trying to give you the best OTA coverage possible because in the past I normally don't really. How else do you cover OTAs when you're not there, right? You can only really comment on social media posts and articles, and that's pretty much what we're going to do. But I also got some other stuff. So before we dive into that, be sure to follow me on all social media at JK Bogan. If you check this out on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the like button, drop a comment. And if you're watching on Bleach Report right now, be sure to follow me on Bleach Report at JK Bogan. So now we have all that out of the way. And of course, special shout out to Bleach Report, as always, for having me. Let's start off with the first thing here. The title of this is Tutu Atwell, right? I mean, that's really what we're talking about. Tutu Atwell. Now, Atwell has already been somebody in the observations that has been turning heads in camp. Atwell, we have to talk about because it's really intriguing what I'm hearing about this guy being utilized, deep down the field and utilized more in the passing game. Not just a guy, one of the guys they're planning on leaning on. And I do believe Jordan Whittington is going to get his opportunities as well. But the stuff I'm hearing about Tutu Atwell is that they are letting that guy go downfield. Okay. They are really testing him downfield. They're just kind of airing it out. Obviously, it's just OTAs, so you don't want to get too crazy about it. But he did get paid. Let's not forget that. He got $10 million for this year. The Rams, you bet it, are going to get their money's worth out of Tutu Atwell. I think Atwell is going to be a significant part of this offense from an explosive standpoint. And that kind of jives with what I'm hearing. So, looking at the wide receiver room, Tutu Atwell, what could he possibly be? You got Davante Adams. We'll get into him in a little bit. Rejuvenated Davante Adams. You got Puka Nacua. You got Jordan Whittington. You got Atwell. You got the tight ends. You got the running backs. Good offensive line. Best in the, I would say top 3 in the conference. I'd say best in the division. They have a great offensive line. They really do. And then they have the best quarterback in the division. And I would say in the NFC. And I'd go as far as to say he's probably top 5 in the NFL. So, yeah, that's what Tutu Atwell is working with. That's what the Rams are working with. I do believe this is the year that Tutu Atwell finally gets the opportunities he deserves. Atwell is a hell of a football player. He has strong hands. He can run routes. He creates separation. And more importantly, despite being 5'9" and a buck 65, soaking wet, Atwell does such a nice job of basically coming down with that catch out of his frame. It's kind of surprising, but we've seen him actually go up and climb the ladder before, despite the fact he's 5'9" and a buck 65. We've seen him kind of extend his catch radius a little bit to go after a football. That's what he does. And he's an explosive player. He ran a 4.3. So this is a really, I think, really talented player, a guy that you always have to know where he is on the field. And at the very least, the job he does to get open and then create a pass interference penalty, because he does a lot of that. And I think it's very underrated. It's a skill. He knows where to be. He knows how to draw contact. If he doesn't get the ball thrown to him, he's still giving his team yardage. So I just overall, I think he offers so much as a player. And just the reality is this: Atwell doesn't even necessarily have to dominate. He doesn't have to, necessarily have the ball in his hands, even because when you talk about a player like this with the athleticism he has, that speed he has, how he can be used on the inside, he can be used on the outside. Hell, he could be a running back if you asked him to on certain plays. His speed alone, you have to know where he is on the field at all times. It opens up the door for other guys underneath. So you look at a Davante Adams and you look at what he can bring to the table, and you have Puka Nacua. it really begs the question, how do you even defend this team? Because if Matthew Stafford stays healthy and the offensive line is decently healthy, and you have a solid running game like you have had the past 2 years, above average, good to great running game, then guess what? It's going to be a nightmare to defend. That's just the reality. So that's how I feel personally. Um, I think time will tell. We'll see what Atwell is in training camp. We'll see what he is during the season. But the stuff I've been hearing is that they're really trying to push Tutu Atwell in this offense. They're utilizing him downfield. They're using the speed. And ultimately, if you buy into that as an offense, it's going to open up the door for other possibilities on offense. So I love that. So we move on from that to the rejuvenated Davante Adams. So Adams made some comments, basically saying he feels really good to be a Ram, and he feels like this is exactly what he needed, and he feels like there were some dark days that he just experienced with other teams. And he didn't mention the teams. He didn't say, yeah, the Jets sucked and the Raiders and the Packers. But you can imagine maybe at the end of the Packers tenure and the Raiders, of course, and then, the Jets, yeah, it was dark days. So I look at Davante Adams, and I've always, full disclosure, I've been critical of Davante Adams. I've been one of those guys, maybe unfair or not. I'm actually a big fan of his game, but I've always been critical because when I see guys constantly just going from team to team, and it just felt like Adams was always looking for a trade. And I'm not saying he was doing that on the Packers, but it felt like when he got to the Raiders, like he wanted to go there for Derek Carr, and they were teammates at Fresno State, and then all of a sudden now he wants it out and he wants to play with Rodgers, and he goes to the Jets, and it looked bad in my mind. But then I thought about it. I was like, you know what? It's really not that bad. It's not. Davante Adams wants to win a Super Bowl before he retires. That is his goal. He's made plenty of money. That's why he made a decent amount for the Rams. I think he would have gotten paid more somewhere else. But he clearly loved the fit. He probably took less money, and he just wants to win a Super Bowl. He knows he's nearing the end of his career. I think what it was described by his agent is these are the last 2 years of his career, and he's happy to finish them in LA. Wouldn't be surprised if he absolutely balls out the next 2 years and decides, I'm going to stick it out another year and I'm just going to be in LA. Wouldn't be surprised. But the point being here is that he needed this. And I initially had issues with the way he, approached the trades and everything, but now I get it. There are a lot of organizations that are just not good. They're not run correctly. You sign up, you buy into what they're trying to sell you in the negotiations, and then you go there and it's like, oh, they literally don't have any plan to try and win a Super Bowl. They're just basically just doing busy work. And I think that's what Adams went through. I think with the Jets, there was a lot of stuff like trying to throw stuff together. Oh, we got Aaron Rodgers. Everything will just work out. It didn't. So the Raiders, same deal. So yeah, I've given Davante Adams a pass on those comments, and I think I was a little too hard on him. So I want to make that clear because I really do like Davante Adams, and I do think he's going to have a better season this year than Puka Nacua as long as he stays healthy. That is not a knock on Puka Nacua. I think Davante Adams leads every single receiver in the NFL in receiving touchdowns this year. I really believe in the red area, this is the 22nd offensive, red zone offense in the league. They already added, Terrence Ferguson. I think that's going to help. But I also really think it's going to help adding Davante Adams. This is somebody that can really make you pay. They like to use a lot of those back shoulder fades. Davante Adams is one of the best in the business at that. So I think that is going to be his bread and butter. And I think if he ends up with 18 receiving touchdowns, don't be surprised. So then we have Kyren Williams. He's still at OTAs, still being involved, despite no new deal. We're still waiting on that. I haven't heard the best stuff about that, but we'll see. I've heard kind of mixed things. I heard that it was going well, and I've heard that it's not going well. So the truth is probably somewhere in the middle of that. But as of right now, Kyren Williams doesn't have a deal, but he's still showing up. Unlike the rookie in Cincinnati, who, rookie has not even he's holding out because he doesn't like the language in his deal or whatever. I don't know. It's silly to me. Um, I like look, I don't think the Bengals are the greatest organization ever. I don't love the way they treat players, but at the same time, you are a rookie. So it is funny. You put that in perspective. Kyren Williams, 30 plus touchdowns, 2,000 yards, back to back seasons over 1,000. And he's been a model of consistency for your team, and he obviously wants to get paid. He's in a contract year, but he's not willing to hold out and hurt the team. Whereas, the kid for Cincinnati, Stewart, yeah, he's still holding out. So figured I'd mention that. It is what it is. Akello Witherspoon is turning heads in camp. He's just not being targeted. Really doing a nice job of clamping down receivers. The only targets he really gets are when Davante Adams is in the vicinity. So that's what we're looking at right now. They're very high on Akello Witherspoon. He is going to be their number one corner. After that, if they get Jalen Ramsey, I would imagine he could end up playing the star. He will likely be, right there with Akello, but I could see them using him playing the star a little bit more. So we'll see how that thing goes. By the way, nothing on the Ramsey front that's new. We just know that they're not interested in Jair Alexander. That's all we know. But Akello not being targeted, that kind of tells you all you need to know. Keep in mind, he has not had a chance to be in camp this early since his best year in Pittsburgh. So that's worth mentioning. Jordan Whittington, I've heard, is improving. Is expected to take another big leap in his game. The knowledge of the game is growing. He actually, talked about that in an interview on the Rams.com. So Whittington gets me excited, was always going to get me excited because I felt like he was just a perfect Rams receiver, blocker, really good route runner, yards after the catch guy, running back with the ball in his hand. Just a fun player to watch. But you saw him last year in limited time when they had to rely on him. He really stepped up. So I'm excited for him. Emmanuel Forbes Jr. is working more one-on-one with Aubrey Pleasant off to the side. That's not due to injury. That's just extra burn, if you will. And I like that. I like seeing that. Dark horse roster candidate AJ Green, who really hasn't been given much of a chance to make this roster. No one talks about him. He's making plays in camp. He actually made a huge play on Stafford, trying to connect with Terrence Ferguson, the rookie, in the end zone. Green has been making some plays, and he's a name to look out for. I mean, the Rams have a lot of corners. I say this all the time. Ramsey is a guy they want. He's not a guy they necessarily need. They love Akello. They love Kobe. They love Darius. Then after that, you have guys like Emmanuel Forbes, who they're starting to be pretty high on. They're very high on, or at least they were last year. They're very high on Darion Kendrick. They like Josh Wallace. They like Charles Woods. And I have heard they like AJ Green. Now, do I think he makes the 53? Probably not. But if you're looking for a corner that just comes out of nowhere and makes this roster, if there was anybody to do that, it would be AJ Green. I like his skill set. He's just a name to look out for. When you're having the constant twos against the ones against the twos, it gives opportunities like what AJ Green had to break up a pass to Terrence Ferguson from Stafford. That's a big deal. With that said, Terrence Ferguson is exciting in camp. I'm hearing really good things. So much so, I mean, I've said this before, I'll say it again. My bold prediction is that I think he's going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, just because I think that the Rams have been waiting for this type of tight end. And think about this. No one thought Puka Nacua as a fifth rounder was going to come in and do what he did. And they didn't really have a plan for Nacua until he came in, and then all of a sudden he started beating out these guys for playing time. Terrence Ferguson is getting opportunities with Stafford already, right from the get-go. So to me, I think that speaks volumes to, how he's valued in this organization. And I think the last thing I want to point out here with OTAs is this. Look, it's hard to gauge most of the defense. I tried to, I reached out and, talked to some of the people, that, I trust, and just wanted to get, kind of gauge it a little bit and see what's going on with the defense. And, I found stuff about Akello, and I found stuff about like AJ Green, of course, was reported by Stu. And Emmanuel Forbes has been obviously he's been reported a decent amount. As far as the pass rush, this is important to understand here, because I know people are going to ask, well, what about Jared Verse? What about Braden Fisk? What about Puna Ford, right? Kobe Turner. I totally get it. Josiah Stewart. But OTAs, in my opinion, they are going to mainly be a focus for quarterback, for wide receivers, for tight ends. Maybe you could say, like, to a degree, the offensive line, but no, I'd probably say quarterback, wide receivers, tight ends, corners, safeties. That's really it. I wish we would hear more about the linebackers. I'd like to like, I reached out about Dolak. I didn't hear anything on that. But yeah, nothing on Paul, Dolak, Josiah Stewart, nothing. But I've heard great things about Ferguson. I even heard some decent stuff about the Pittsburgh guy that they got at the end of the draft, Konate Mumfield. So I don't know what to make of that. I mean, I think he's probably lining himself up to be that, fifth receiver, sixth receiver, but we'll see. That's what I got. In conclusion, I feel really, really good about this offense. I think the defense is going to blow people out of the water because I just don't think people are giving these cornerbacks, they're not giving these safeties, they're not giving the secondary as a whole. And by the way, Cam Kinchin's had a really good day in OTAs, so that's worth mentioning. But I just don't believe they're giving these guys as a whole enough praise, enough trust. I think this secondary down the stretch really proved after the Bills game, they were sensational and they just don't get talked about nearly enough. So say what you will. I'm very high on the secondary. I don't think the Rams have too many needs. I actually don't think they have a single need. I think they have wants. Jalen Ramsey is a want. Okay. He's somebody I want. He's not somebody I need. Because I think right now, a need would basically say they can't do this without this. I think they can win it all, personally, without any, like I said that before the draft. So that's where I stand. If I'm wrong about the secondary, I'll own up to it during the season, but I'm not I'm not getting off this I'll die on this hill. I am not getting off this. I do believe that the Rams secondary is vastly underrated. And I think this defense is going to surprise a lot of people when it was all hiding in plain sight. You go back, this is the easiest, in my opinion, this is one of the easiest cases I've been able to make for Akello, for Darius, for Kobe. The Rams saw Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, AJ Brown, and Devontae Smith. What did any of those guys do? This is what I mean. None of those guys broke open the game. This was great coverage. Again, I know that the pass rush matters. Totally get it. And the pass rush helped. But I also don't think the secondary gets enough credit for what they allowed those guys to do, because obviously the pass rush was very good. But the secondary was asked, they were put in positions where if the pass rush didn't get there, mind you, Jared Verse said he left 10 sacks on the field. Okay. So quarterbacks were getting out of harm's way, and that's longer for a corner to have to cover. I think they're going to surprise people, and I don't think you're going to see it coming if you're not listening now. So that's how I have it. Again, I want to mention Kinchin's had a good day as well in the 11-11 drills, per Stu Jackson. So some fun reports, nothing too crazy. I think the big things you need to take away is that Davante Adams is the happiest I've ever seen him. Akello is doing his thing in training camp, and they feel good about him being CB1. Kyren does not have a deal yet, but isn't threatening to hold out or anything like that. Tutu's being utilized more. Jordan Whittington's development. And then I really just think Terrence Ferguson is, again, I'm not going to pretend that I had him ranked super high, but I have said this. Whatever tight end the Rams chose was going to have a boost, because I think this is such a great position to be in for a young tight end. This is a perfect offense to be in. If you're Sean McVay, you have to feel good about it as well, getting Terrence Ferguson. So that's where I'm at. But yeah, that's going to do it for me. So be sure to follow me on all social media at JK Bogan, including Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Kick, all that stuff. And of course on here. right? So be sure to do that. Check out my YouTube. And again, once again, special shout out to Bleach Report for having me. I'll see you guys soon. Later.